Well, the Unified Command released some stunning new sonar images of the Francis Scott Key collapsed bridge wreckage underneath the Dolly in the channel there in Baltimore. So I wanted to show you what we've got here. And to give you your bearings here, this is the 4 pillars that survived. And then this was where the main channel was. So the Dolly was supposed to go right here. Right now the Dolly is in the background off to the left. You can't see it. Everything here is above water. This is all LIDAR images, and everything below the water is over here. These are all sonar images. So what I want to do now is take a look. So we're going to bring in here this image that I made off of a flyby of the scene from up above to give you an idea of where everything is here. So this support right here with the 4 pillars is this right here. So this truss right here is this truss in the water. And then this part here sticking out, see with these 2 ends of it poking out, is this truss section right here. And then this space here is of course right over here in this space. And then this right here is the truss that's hanging off of the Dolly. So the center of the channel was actually right over here. So the Dolly was supposed to go right this way. Now, right now the Dolly is parked on the other side here in the dark with this resting on it. So you can't see it there in this image. Some things that I want to point out to you here is this spot right here is where they want to clear that 280-foot wide path to make that limited use part of the channel coming up at the end of April. So they'll be able to pass one-way direction traffic this way. And then once they get the rest of the bridge removed and the Dolly refloated, this will be the remainder of the federal channel, which already exists. So the federal channel right now runs right along here and cuts partway through the Dolly ship itself and runs back that way. And we'll overlay that in a second, but I just wanted to let you know where everything is. So this is the section that I showed you the other night on the video that I think this is where the construction workers were on this section. And I believe that they got dumped in right here when this came down at an angle, at a steep 45-degree angle. The vehicles got dumped right here. This is where they should be looking. And in our sonar image, this is it right here. I believe this is where they should be looking for the construction workers, I think right here, the 3 missing guys. So here they're showing everything that I was talking about. So the limited access channel is supposed to be in this area. The federal channel is the entire gap here. And then the main support and the collapsed truss. Let's take a look at the other image. So this is showing what I just showed you a minute ago, but basically more directly head on. And I'm assuming that this blue line here is the water line, and everything above it is LIDAR, everything below it is sonar. So, like I had mentioned before, I believe you're going to find the construction vehicles right in this area. This is where they should be looking, is right here. It's kind of eerie to see it all now and to be able to see it with this type of incredible clarity. Here is the similar view, actually more or less off to the right-hand side, because we're back right in front of where the pillars are here. And again, they're showing where the limited access channel will be and the federal channel, and the Dolly is right here. So what they're showing you here is some depths, the depths of the water there. So 51, 53, 35 feet over here, see? So the further off you go to the right, off of the center of that channel, the federal channel there, yeah, the more shallow it's going to be. But my money says those construction vehicles are right in here. Now, I wish they had shown what the depths are over here. But you can see how the ground comes down like this at an angle and slopes. So the further away you get from the center of that channel, you're getting shallower and shallower, so that when you're traveling near the towers here, you're not in 50 feet of water. Any ship like the Dolly with a 49-foot draft that's coming this way is going to beach itself right here. And they're still back at it, diving every single day. And here you can see that the Weeks crane was offloading containers, stacks of 3 at a time off of the Dolly ship yesterday. And here's some flyovers that they did here. And here you can see on the right, that's the barge with the big Weeks crane on it. And that's how they're removing those containers off of the front of the Dolly ship. And here's a view from the helicopter. Man, they're pretty close to those wires too. It has a medium shot looking in towards the bow, and you can see they've already removed probably close to a dozen of these containers off of the ship. And that was pretty amazing, seeing them pull off 3 at a time. There's the roadway on there. Man, the guys are walking on that angled part of the roadway. See it right on the bow? Ho ho! risky. Bunch of guys on top of the containers there. So they have to unload that whole section there and get those crooked ones out of the way so that they can safely remove the truss and everything else off of the Dolly. And here's that view I showed you earlier with the LIDAR in the sonar photo there of what the channel is going to look like there with the federal channel and the new limited access channel. You'll see a barge and a small ship behind it are both getting ready to enter that new alternate channel, which is set up in the second section of the bridge there. So it's good to see they're finally making use of that second alternate route set up on the south side. And here's exactly where they pop out coming through that alternate channel. If you look closely, you can see the green and red temporary Coast Guard buoys that were set up there to mark that new channel. And it is just an amazing sight to see all of these cranes here in operation. They're going to get this done in no time. And this right here is one busy site. I think they announced today that there was over 12 cranes on site. So this is where I think the dilemma is for the Unified Command is their plan to refloat the Dolly. They haven't really given us a whole lot of information. All right, take the bridge off, get all of the stuff out of the way. But just because you take the bridge off, that doesn't mean that the Dolly isn't still stuck in the mud. And then how deep down in that mud is it? Is it like way down like this? How are you going to float up a ship that heavy up out of that deep muck like that? I don't think you can just drag it out. They may have to go underneath it and start dredging a little bit. And then you present other problems too, because you don't want to affect too much the surroundings either and cause possible damage to the riverbed. Now, if they're lucky, and if it really isn't buried that deep into the muck, they can probably just pull it out with a bunch of tugboats and get it back into the channel, just sort of drag it the rest of the way back into the channel and then set it free. So my hypothesis here is that the Dolly has actually beached itself, even though a lot of people say, well, the bridge is weighing it down. Yes, but I believe that the Dolly beached itself into the mud before the bridge even came down on top of it. Remember, the Dolly was heading down the channel like this, the federal channel. And when it turned off to the right and crashed into the 4 pillars there, guess what? You just left the channel. It's outside that 50-foot channel now. You can kiss your 50-foot depth goodbye now. So right now, the Dolly is no longer in 50 feet of water. How deep is it? Let's check the chart. Yeah, so what I forgot to mention to you and show you this on my previous video from yesterday about the Dolly, and I showed the federal channel here, and that it's 50 feet deep right in this spot here. The problem is when Dolly came in, I think Dolly beached itself right here before it even got to the 4 pillars. You see, I think it's already digging in at this point. Remember, this is not 50 feet because you're outside the channel in this spot right here. So all of this area, when the Dolly comes in, I think from right around here, from right around the time it gets to the concrete dolphin right there, it's already resting on the ledge and it's sliding at this point, just going right into the pillars, and then it finally comes to a stop, and then the bridge collapses on it right here and then weighs it down even further on the bow end. So now looking at it here with all of the channels indicated, so now you have a better eyesight along that line there. See, so when Dolly comes to a complete rest here at the end of the collapse, she's partly sticking into the channel. So the back right hand end here of the stern of the ship is over 50 feet of water. But this side of it and most of the front of the bow is no longer in 50 feet of water. It's in probably, what, 22, 23 feet of water? That's the unknown at this point. See, because when we come and look at the depth charts for the harbor, and these 2 circles here represent the 2 sets of pillars, the center of the channel is right here, and there's your federal channel. So it's only 50 feet in between these 2 black lines here. So anything outside of that, it looks to be, according to this, anywhere from 20 to 21 to 22 feet. As you look around here, it says 22 feet on there. And if I come up to the upper side of it up here, that says 22 feet. 21 feet over here, let's assume it's 22 feet right here at these pillars. So that's less than half the depth of the channel, which is at 50 feet. And remember, the draft of the Dolly ship is 49.5 feet. And now many of you may not have noticed this, but the Dolly ship is listing a little bit to the left in this image. And I made this little yellow line here. If we put it right smack dab in the middle, and I'm going to line it to the very top between that red and the gray containers where that line is between the two. And then you can see just how much. It's not like a huge amount, but it is probably a few degrees. It is listing definitely to the left. So once they remove the bridge and the trusses and everything here, they want to make sure that the dolly doesn't just roll over, because it is sitting precariously on a ledge right now. And so what I've done here was I wanted to illustrate, like, okay, how far underwater are we now? And then where would the mud be? Does that mean we're under the mud? So this blue line in the middle represents the water level, right? So I'm going to put this right down where the water is. And so the draft of the ship should be about 50 feet here below the water line. So here's the water line, and here's the draft of the ship. Now the left side is sitting at 50 feet, the right side is probably at 22 feet, and this is why we don't know. Is it sitting under a bunch of muck here at this point? So the burning question here with the dolly is it this scenario right here, where it's just sitting on the top of the mud here, and maybe they just pull it out with a couple of tugs? Or is it the case here at the bottom, where it's buried deep into the muck? Now, of course, this isn't very accurate the way I have it depicted here, because we know the red line is above the water at this point. But I just have this here to kind of show you the concept that I'm talking about. So if the bottom of the ship is buried in the muck like this, it is stuck in there, and they're not going to easily get that ship out of there. So I wanted to take a look at that water line there, but look at this. Look at how badly these containers got crushed here, especially this yellow one here. Dumped its entire contents into the river there. Who knows, maybe that was somebody's Apple Watch that they were expecting down in Sri Lanka. Here's your concrete dolphin in the background. Okay, but let's take a look at the water line in this image. So if you look here, see how the red line starts right here, and it's really thin, almost to a point at the bow. But look how it starts to get bigger and bigger as you head back towards the stern. This doesn't have all of it, but we'll take a look at all of it in a second. But I just wanted to show you how much the bridge truss is pushing down onto the front of the bow, along with the weight of the roadway, and the bridge still on there as well. So it's pushing down on this part of it here. And then we have this image here of the marine dive boat. And so look at this. So it starts down here, same way, like I said, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as we head towards the back and the stern of the Dolly ship. And then when we look at this image, this one shows it, I think, the best, because you can see here's your point down here, and it gets bigger and bigger. So it looks like it's about maybe the height of one of the containers, which is about 8.5 feet or so. So probably 8 feet pushing downward on the bow of the ship. And then here they gave us a really good picture, actually showing the whole southern end of the highway. They probably blocked it off back here on the night of the collapse, when they were able to get the lanes shut down in time so that no other vehicles were involved in it. But yeah, what a great view looking down the roadway there. And so there's your Weeks crane that's already unloaded several of the containers off of the Dolly. They're pulling them from right here along the front, because they need to clear this area to make it safer to operate when they go to remove the bridge truss. So they are really moving like gangbusters here. And again, here's the look of the red line going down the ship. Well, just to remind you, if you're new here and you haven't seen my other videos, make sure you see this video here on the FIU bridge collapse that I just completed. One of my best engineering analysis videos yet. And then also last week, check out this video here. We had that scary and fatal crane collapse here in Fort Lauderdale, my own stomping grounds. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.